It's important because of this. This is my most important slide. This is my family. That's Florence, Italy in the background. This is a few years ago. I grew up in rural Jonesboro, Tennessee. When I was a little boy, I was always put in the classes that were slower. I was a discipline problem. You all have known me now for about 35, 40 minutes. You can probably see that. I was a discipline problem. Whenever I got disciplined at school, they brought me around to the edge because we went to schools with partitions because some idiot thought that would be a good idea and didn't put any windows in our school. That's another story. And they brought me around to the edge so multiple classrooms could watch me get whipped. What was going on in my house? I was being physically abused by my mother. I was being sexually abused by my uncle. You can beat me all day long. You ain't ever going to get a tear out of me. To hell with you. We have to change our approach to that. It happens all the time. I was always put in the slow classes. And then in the 7th grade, we took a test. First year they ever gave it in Tennessee. They call it the TCAP now. But back then, we were the first class to take it. And a teacher came and got me out of the dumb class and put me in the smart class. And then I thought I was smart. One of the biggest things that ever happened to me in my life. I wound up going to college. I wound up going to medical school. And if somebody had to come out to get me, it would never happen. So, it's those resiliency things that we got to work on. We got to look to identify for people who are at risk. And if we do that over a long enough period of time, we'll see big changes going forward. The politicians don't like this. Why? Because it doesn't happen on a 2 or 4 year election cycle. Okay, we're talking about downstream. So I took my family to Florence, and I know I've got a minute. I'm going to go a tiny bit over, but I'm still good. I got fired up. So we go to Florence. That's my son Heath, my now daughter-in-law Laura, my wife Karen. That's me in the middle. I want to concentrate on the little girl to my right. That's my daughter Haley. It's where all my money goes. Every dad in the room knows that when you have a little girl, you know at some point somebody's going to come and take her away. That's just a fact. And I knew that Haley's entire life. When it was Heath's time to go, it was time for him to go. I love him, but his ass needed to go. Haley was a different story. I offered to pay for everything the rest of her life if she lived in a bedroom. And so when she was a junior in high school, she brought that thing to her right on home. His name is Sterling. It was their first date. He was a senior. They were going to the prom. I sat on the front porch and waited on him. He walked up on my porch. He was driving the car. I said, my daughter's not getting in that car. I didn't know the kid. I gave him the keys to my car that night. At least if they had a wreck, they'd have it in my car and not that thing he was driving. And I walked in and I told Karen, I said, Karen, I just met this kid, and I think I just met our son-in-law. She said, come on, it's their first date. Right, they're juniors and seniors in high school. 6 years later, I'm standing at the end of a long aisle in Charleston, South Carolina, and it cost a fortune. And I've got my daughter on my right arm, and she's getting married. And I'm coming unglued. I'm dying. And right before we walked down the aisle, she laid her head over my shoulder. She said, Daddy, you're the first man I ever loved. Thank you for everything you ever did for me. Not bad, right? Not bad. Great day. At the same moment, I knew that I was in the program that night, not in parentheses. Stephen Llyod, father of the bride. Not parentheses. What's in parentheses? Birth and death date. I'm May 11th, 1967, dash. I'm still a dash. I'm dash because I stepped into a system of care designed for me to be successful. I got to give my daughter away. My son got married pandemic year in October. In April, Tennessee was closed down. The pandemic did a few good things. It took sports off TV. And it brought back the family dinner table. And so we're all having dinner one night, and Heath looked up at me in April, and he said, hey, Pops, would you be the best man at my wedding? Heath played college baseball. He's got 100 buddies. He asked me to be his best man. 2 most important days of my life up until that point were the day my daughter got married and the day my son got married, and I was there for both of them. I wasn't in the program as a 2 dates. Guys, that's why this is important. That's why we look at things the way we do. We've got to look at it differently. We've got to look at a way to effectively spend our money so that this picture happens more than it doesn't, because right now, this is the exception, not the rule. I said 2 at the time because meet CC, Cecilia Ann, my granddaughter. She was born 3.5 weeks ago. This is why this is important. Nobody wants to wake up and stick a needle in their arm. People want a life. They want to provide for their family. They want to have kids. They want to have grandkids. That's That's why the work that we do, the things that we talk about are important. We get up here all day long with numbers and graphs and, studies. Nobody gives a shit about that, right? This is the deal. This is the deal. That's why we're here. With that said, thank you all.